Welcome back to the Stick Figure Historian channel England series, guys. So, King Charles and his officers are sitting at council in Oxford. Spring was upon them. The new campaign season of 1645 was about to begin. How would they proceed? There was the new complication of this great new model army. Of course, they had already heard about it. George Digby, who you'll remember is the fuzzy English Frenchman from many episodes ago, was a bit uneasy about this new army. He thought it was a sign the Roundheads were getting ready to make a serious attack on Oxford. He suggested that they should stay put for now and focus on defending the city. Rupert disagreed. He had never been fond of sitting still, as you know, but more than that, he was burning with a longing for revenge. He wanted to redeem his defeat at Marston Moor and take the north back. Some men sided with Digby, other men with Rupert, but there was a third party even that thought they should instead work on strengthening their position in the west of England. Charles took a compromised approach. He sent Lord Goring down to rescue the city of Taunton in the west, which was then under siege, whilst he and Rupert went off on the mission to retake the north. As for Digby, his idea didn't make it into the deal. Charles dragged the reluctant lord right off along with him. The news of the king's move threw Parliament into a tizzy. It was really screwing up their plans. They had just sent Fairfax to go reinforce the men besieging Taunton. Having their head general far south while the king was traveling north was not a very good idea. They sent him orders to link up with Cromwell and attack Oxford instead, but it turns out Charles was full of surprises this year. He and Rupert took the Roundhead town of Leicester by storm, quite violently by some reports, and those reports raised quite the ire back at Westminster Hall. Fairfax was recalled from the walls of Oxford and sent to retake Leicester. The new general was glad for the change and delighted to be in action again. He wasn't the type that cared for siege warfare, and to top it off, this siege had not been progressing very well. If he had had things his own way, he would have left long before. He quite frankly thought that Parliament was being rather foolish and inefficient. Here is what Fairfax wrote in a letter to his father. I am very sorry we should spend our time unprofitably before a town, whilst the king hath time to strengthen himself, and by terror to force obedience of all places where he comes. The Parliament is sensible of this now, and therefore has sent me directions to raise the siege in March. It is the earnest desire of this army to follow the king, but the endeavors of others to prevent it has so much prevailed. Soon Royalist scouts were coming into Leicester with news of Fairfax's approach, and according to their observations, he was coming with an army nearly twice the size of their own. Charles didn't care. He wasn't going to give up and run away from what he had gained. He determined to stay and fight. It was Rupert, surprisingly, who advised against this. It seems that Marston Moor had also put some healthy fear into him, and he had no desire to try his hand against superior odds like that again. Not with the Ironsides, at least. He begged the king to retreat, but the king wouldn't hear of it. Fight they would, it was settled. And perhaps more surprisingly, Digby was among the most eager for the coming battle. Apparently his earlier qualms about the new model army had vanished along the march. Or he and Rupert had traded dispositions. It was really out of character for both of them. On June 14th, the two armies drew their battle lines at Naseby, about 20 miles to the south of Leicester. Two armies of fellow countrymen, set for yet another bloody conflict. 3 years this war had dragged on. And how much longer still?